everybody, good evening and welcome into DogZone, where tonight we look back to the races coming out of Wanganui. Obviously the Group 1 Wanganui Distance taking precedence there, and what a race it was. Corborn Taylor victorious for Matt Roberts. Joining us here on the show as per usual is Mark Rosanowski. Roso, we look back to Wanganui, but finally a chance to half catch our breath a bit when the Group 1 racing finally slows down.
Yes, I guess so, Andy, although there just seems to be a lot happening at the moment, and particularly out of the Manawatu, which we'll cover off later in the show as well, with the Golden Chase qualifying drawing to a conclusion, 2 more chances there, and also, of course, we're looking at the end of the month, the Golden Chase itself, and Commentators Day on Monday, Andy. Look, it's all set up for a bit of fun, which we will endeavour to capture and bring on the show next week as well. So not Group 1 racing as such, but certainly some happenings.
As I said, the feature of the week that we just saw was the running of the Group 1 Wanganui Distance. It was taken out by the Matt Roberts prepared Corborn Taylor, Box 1, the Red Rug.
Racing in the Wanganui Distance, Dinah Wesson was astride, slow, no pudding, got back, Gold Star Sydney got back, showing speed was RSL and early. Here's Corborn Taylor pushing up the inside, perfect result was there, but is passed by Hot Platter who goes round to third. Dinah Wesson pushes around the outside of No Pudding. Gold Star Sydney next, perfect results being shuffled. Amoeba Sydney's last the lap out, Corborn Taylor leads by 2 to 3 lengths here on Hot Platter. Dinah Wesson moves forward the outside. No Pudding is fourth, a couple of lengths back then. Gold Star Sydney, RSL has drifted. Perfect result too far off the man. Amoeba Sydney is last. Corborn Taylor by 2 lengths. Dinah Wesson trying to close on her. Hot Platter's running a race. Then No Pudding further back to Gold Star Sydney. Perfect result is running on up to the corner. Corborn Taylor still in front. Dinah Wesson trying ever so hard, and Hot Platter. It's Corborn Taylor, Dinah Wesson. Corborn Taylor beats Dinah Wesson. Hot Platter huge third. No Pudding good fourth as well.
Well, Matt, you got the Group 1. Nervous moments early. She had to be brave to push up the fence, but once she got there, she's been too strong.
Yeah, she managed to hold the lead, which was good, but yeah, it's always a bit nerve-wracking trying to lead those 700s all the way, but yeah, she held out in the end just nicely.
Down the back, you had Dinah Wesson starting to come at you. Did you think you had a big enough buffer to hold her off?
It took me a while to actually spot Dinah Wesson. She was quite small on the outside of a couple of big dogs, so but yeah, I saw her burst into second, and I began to get a bit worried, and yeah, like I said, holding out the whole way is very tough, and yeah, I was just lucky she pinched a big enough break.
She had a really nice lead up into this race, obviously her last 600 in that trial last week. You must have been quietly confident going into it?
Yeah, I was pretty confident with the way she's been going. She's been rounding off those 600s really nicely this campaign in, and we had a wee problem with her tail a few months back, and we had to get that cut off, but yeah, she's just been hitting the line really good over all the races, and just excited to get her back over the 700 to see how she was going to go.
Of course, you and Sarah now proud parents. Must be a good moment to get one now that you are parents.
Yeah, no, it is, and I'll dedicate this one to Astle. Yeah, so it's a pretty good moment for us, to be honest.
So there was Matt Roberts with his thoughts around Corborn Taylor. Roso, obviously she's the first one we need to touch on. Was good to see her get this win as well, as I touched on in that interview with Matt. She had been building towards this, and from 2 or 3 weeks ago it looked like her race on paper.
Yeah, certainly, Andy. That's not the way the market showed it, of course, but we had an easing favourite in Dinah Wesson, because clearly the Craig Roberts camp wasn't as happy with her as what the Matt Roberts camp were with Corborn Taylor, and things had sort of been a little ominous for Wesson with that 645 metre win that she'd had. Corborn Taylor had looked the better run out of that with a view to the 755 metres. Now Taylor in the Red Rug there sneaking through to lead. In the black and white stripes there, Wesson in a bit of bother there at the first bend, and that can certainly happen to her, especially when she is drawn in a wee bit close and she wants to push out. Well, she finds clear air. A lap out, she's probably given them about 4 lengths. The other one to watch out here for is Hot Platter. Green and white rug, number 9, coming off the ballot. There's the arrows to help you. No Pudding fourth. Perfect result was the third favourite, got too far back. Gold Star Sydney beats it home there in the white rug. Andy, good performance to lead largely throughout. RSL and led off the lids for Corborn Taylor. She'd run second in a Group 2 behind Dusty Gambler on the track last year. She was really searching for the line there over the concluding stages. Wesson had possibly come to the end of the run. Hot Platter was starting to close off on them. Overall, as we watched them into that first bend, a really good race. Second favourite beating the favourite, but it was a shortening second favourite beating an easing favourite in Dinah Wesson. obviously Matt Roberts delighted. His father, Craig, actually very pleased with the run of Dinah Wesland because he was concerned about her going into that race. I think she performed very well with a view to the future. Andy, Corborn Taylor now into the DogZone duet. That's you and me hopefully doing a call Monday. I'm scared about that. Do I look scared about that? I'm really scared about that. That's Corborn Taylor's assignment on Monday and ours. And Dinah Wesland into a Bitches feature, the Flair feature on Thursday over the 520 metres.
In terms of looking forward, Roso, to the Silver Collar, which is obviously the main staying test for these greyhounds. As you said, the run home there of the winner, Corborn Taylor, not the best. In fact, probably the worst run home in the race. Well, it was, thanks to the boys at Form Pro for getting it through. So certainly some runs in behind here, Roso, which stand themselves in good stead. Obviously, Hot Platter, No Pudding. And one way back in the pack, fastest run home of all goes to Me for Sydney.
Well, we know that he's capable of that, Me for Sydney. But, you know, whether he can put a whole race together, that is the issue for him. He's getting on a little now too, as are we all, but you'd still think he's got another Silver Collar series in him. I think, Andy, 2 runs out of that are worthy of note, be it Silver Collar or just distance racing in general. Obviously, Hot Platter coming off the ballot, only its second ever run beyond 600 metres, is placed over 6:45 prior. First run, of course, beyond 700 therefore. And No Pudding, who's kind of looked a stayer from the outset. He won his first 3 races and he hasn't won again since, but he's kind of had the stamp of a stayer and he gave us a pretty good indication there at what his 21st start or so, that he also has a future too.
Also on Friday night, we saw a really nice New Zealand Racing Series distance race over the 520 metres go to the post. Big Time Morocco was favourite in this. He's the greyhound in the black and white rug of box number 2. Roso, he was looking to make it 9 from 9. And I've got to be honest, into the first turn, I thought it was race over. I started looking back to see where No Shame was if she was getting a run, and things went really bad for Rocco into the turn.
Yeah, just note there, Big Time Tank and the blue rug sitting third, but at the moment we've got Big Time Forest in front and hard to catch. An experienced campaigner. It was his 104th start. Look, the key point is going around that first bend, and we'll have a look at that in a moment. It did see the end to Big Time Rocco's winning streak. Things looked pretty good going into that first bend, but by the time we pick up that coverage there, coming off the back straight, Big Time Forest was in front of him, and Forest was coming off a sub-26 second win at Manawatu, which I've got to say surprised me, and he's generally been better at hat-trick. Big Time Forest's fastest ever winning time is 30.20. They ran 30.91. The track was running a touch slow, but of course it was the drama in the race that caused the time to be as slow as all that. I mean, Big Time Rocco ran 30.08 recently. But with Forest, when he ran 30.20, he actually beat Big Time Paddy, but he's never quite lived up to that again. Let's have a look at that race again, going around that first bend, Andy, which was the critical point for Rocco. And here was a dog that was 8 from 8, and he's in the black and white rug, and he's a predominantly white dog. But that's sub-18 who's got good early pace outside, and Big Time Forest in behind. A couple of experienced campaigners, and sub-18 comes across, and Big Time Forest is up on the dog's heels. Forest got out of that reasonably well. Big Time Tank got to second the outside, and then Rocco had to sort of regather his composure. Well, that's not easy, as you know, Andy, for a young dog. He's not 2 yet, he's not even that close to 2 yet, and he's just having his 9th start. Whereas I've mentioned Big Time Forest with 104 and sub-18, that was its 42nd start. I thought his recovery was very good. Sub-18 went back to last. Big Time Forest did a very good job, take nothing away from the winner, but I don't think Rocco lost too many admirers there.
Now, I think you're right there. He's certainly a really talented young greyhound, and he just lost his feet, as you saw, around that first turn. His mid-split, I thought he's still in a winnable position around that first turn, Roso. I thought he might have been able to reel Big Time Forest back in, but obviously in his races so far, we've seen his mid-split be fairly decent, and that just took the stuffing out of him around the first turn.
Yeah, I think so, and I'm certainly willing to forgive him on that because of his lack of age, lack of experience. And he's still in a winning position, but it was tough for him. Experienced campaigner in form in front of him, and Rocco wasn't able to drag it through.
On Monday at Wanganui was the annual Taranaki meeting, and our commentator for this one, Matt Gardner, he gets all the action up there at the Easter meeting. Nature's Gent victorious in the Taranaki Cup, the dog in the blue rug of box number 4.
Racing speed out wide there from Corborn Liz, and Trojan Horse will boot up as well. They'll take them into the bend from Big Time Caleb around the outside there. We've got All About Space. Nature's Gent gets a nice rails run, but he's back midfield. Big Time Levi settles in 6th position. Then we've got Big Time Mia in the last one. Ask King Jeff down the back they go. Trojan Horse is in front from Corborn Liz, and Nature's Gent bullies himself into the clear. Big Time Levi might be a touch too late, and on the drift was Big Time Caleb. Up they come. Nature's Gent out after Trojan Horse. They hit it. Oh, tell you what, Trojan Horse may have held on, but it's dead set close. Nature's Gent is in the photo with it, and Big Time Levi has rattled home for 3rd. The next one there to cross the line.
Nature's Gent getting the job done there. Roso, we continue to talk about how in form the Turnbull team are, and Nature's Gent getting the Taranaki Cup just carries on their winning way.
Yeah, and he's just a winner, this dog, Andy. Triple Group 1 winner, as we keep alluding to. He's over 4 years old. He finds ways to win. He did that. He got up over Trojan Horse there for his 22nd win. He's on the cusp of $200,000 in stakes. And he goes to the South Waikato Cup on Sunday. It's Tokoroa's Day in the Sun, so it's the week of the provincial clubs who get one TAB meeting a year, and Nature's Gent a chance to add that to his tally. Of course, he's not as good on the one-turn track, and Diddley is right next door to him in that South Waikato Cup. That's going to be a good race coming off the Auckland Cup, of course. There's plenty of other chances in that race. So the provincial cups are drawing good fields, Andy, which is really good. Well done to Matt Gardner there. Look, he leaned for Trojan Horse. I've done the same in a Group 1 race, Big Time Paddy over Alan Ablett. It was the other way, coming in cold after 12 months. He called 6 races. I think he did an exceptionally good job. It just so happened that it was Nature's Gent's nose just on Trojan Horse, but he called it close. And the funny thing there was Big Time Levi defending his crown. Nature's Gent ran 4th in the race last year. Levi won it. Good to have them backing up, Andy. As we keep saying, 12 months is a long time in greyhound racing. But Levi was a bit odd, because I think if he'd hooked to the outside and sort of done the normal Levi thing, he might have even got closer than he did. But it was a really good race.
It certainly was. Yeah, Levi certainly looked a little bit unlucky there. He tried to drive between them down the back, and leaving the back, and he probably lost the best part of a length and a half to 2 lengths, and to be beaten a nose and neck. He was certainly unlucky not to go back to back in the Taranaki Cup. Well, speaking of Matty Gardner, we're going to go now. Roso had a little interview with him on Monday at Wanganui just to find out a little bit more about him.
Well, Matt, welcome back to the commentary box after 12 months. Called the Taranaki Cup last year, Big Time Levi, and he was 3rd this year. He made a pretty valiant attempt at defending his title.
Yeah, he did indeed, Roso. It was a cracker of a finish, wasn't it? Nature's Gent, obviously a well-deserved winner of the race as well after everything he's achieved in his career. So a real good name to put on the trophy there, Nature's Gent, and Big Time Levi coming from nowhere as well to make it a very, very interesting finish.
Nice when you got a triple Group 1 winner like Nature's Gent taking out a provincial cup, and yeah, it's good for the club, isn't it, to have dogs like that chasing their prize?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I say, you get a dog like that in a provincial cup race, and looking back in history, and just another feather in his cap and something else to put in his CV as well. Nature's Gent, yeah. How'd
you go with the finish? Because you're coming in cold after 12 months.
Yeah, a bit closer than I needed, really, Roso. It was certainly an action-packed finish, and hopefully I held somewhat of my composure there. But yeah, I mean, good spectacle it was for the punters for sure.
Now, the reason you call this annual TAB event, or part of it anyway, is because you are the caller for the Taranaki Greyhound Racing Club and their 2-day meeting across Easter, which of course is coming up a bit later in April this year with the lateness of Easter. How long have you been doing that?
I've been doing that for over 10 years now, Roso. Started off in about 2007, I think. So, it's been going on for quite some time. Certainly a highlight of my racing calendar for sure.
Well, how did it happen? How did you get involved? Because back then you were probably training dogs.
I was training dogs at the time, so that's what I was there for in the first instance, there at Burnside Showgrounds. And Dennis Symes was the caller in those days. And Dennis had a big weekend on the karaoke and calling the first day, obviously. And, the voice cut out on Dennis on the Sunday, so I got the call up, and he's kept me on ever since. So yeah, really enjoyable, and I shout out to Dennis for the opportunity there in the first instance.
And Dennis still heavily involved. In fact, he puts a lot of work in with some of the other locals to get the 2-day meeting up and running.
Absolutely, Dennis and the rest of the Symes family as well. They certainly the backbone of organising everything there for the club. So they do a great job, Dennis and the rest of the family. And Tiny Taylor, the president, is responsible for the upkeep of the track as well, and he has to sort of get the sheep off the track that have been grazing for 10 months of the year and gets it up to scratch every year. So certainly they put on a beautiful looking grass track surface as well every year.
Obviously there's a lot of opportunities for greyhounds now to race during the week more than once. But in the past and across those 10 years, you must have had some pretty good dogs that you've called at the Burnside Showgrounds?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's back in, before I was calling, it was certainly a really big meeting, and there were some high quality dogs. But in my time, one that stands out is Bright Star for Bob Bond, champion sprinter of the North, and she came to Burnside Showgrounds for a number of years there. And just in recent times, Jared Udy and Nisi Cottam are big contributors at that meeting. And one I used to enjoy calling was Hot Pooty. She won there about 4 years in a row, I think, through the youth grades and then the veterans and even a distance race I think she ripped off as well. And now her progeny, Little Moo, was there winning last year. So the northern contingent's really important too for the club. Jared and Nisi and Ross and Lynn Udy as well, and Bobby Bond I've also mentioned. So they certainly bring a lot to that meeting.
So fewer races than there used to be, but across a 2-day meeting these days, how many races are you likely to call?
Oh, it's still cool because we have the puppy races as well. So we have about a dozen races on each day. So upwards of sort of 20, 24 races over the 2 days. So hopefully, if we're lucky again this year.
And we'll see you back here next year, I hope.
I look forward to it, Roso. I look forward to the invite.
That was Matt Gardner, who of course called the Taranaki Cup and a few other races there on Monday, Roso. Matty, a fella I've had a bit to do growing up. We were CD boys together. Of course, his partner JJ having a little bit to do with the Greyhound Racing Association, and two of the good people in the game.
Yeah, certainly, and he trained a few hurdlers in his time, and his mother did too, and his father too, for that matter. Like you say, the Central District's brothers, I think he described you guys as. And there's a few caravans left too. If you want to go to the Easter meeting, just contact Dennis Symes or anyone from the club at Taranaki there across the 2 days. Look, honestly, if you're going to be in the region, quite a lot of fun with the non-tote racing, and you can stay in the caravan overnight on site. Anyway, Andy, I did allude to the Commentators' Day a couple of times actually, which is coming up on Monday. And this is something that the New Zealand Racing Board and the Palmerston North Greyhound Racing Club have got on board with. Now, because Matt Cross hosts the first call, he gets race number 1. How about that? He's done and dusted. Jason Tees has done the full set of 7 commentary boxes in greyhound racing in New Zealand. Trevor Wilkes has been calling greyhound since '79. Mark McNamara has done greyhound. He's good. He's very good. And Tony Lee, well, he's way too good. Dave McDonald coming up, which is going to be terrific to have him. Aaron White's very used to the commentary box there, having done the Manawatu trots many, many times. Daryl Robinson, of course, has plenty of experience in the CD, and Daryl and I, and probably you too, Andy, I think might be called upon to get stuck into the Andy McCook Happy Punting Pick 6, which is leg 1, $15,000 Terminator. We'll be taking around the hat on Monday, getting a pool together to try and strike that. George Simon, well, it's not quite the Great Northern for George, but I'm sure he'll appreciate the 467 metres over in a flash. The duet distance is you and me combined over the 660 metres, which sounds like a lot for a greyhound, but Andy, it won't be much for 2 people doing a commentary. A take-on run for the Roses there, I see.
Certainly looking forward to that duet. Certainly looking forward to that duet, Roso. Well,
we're doing a duet now. We're talking over the top of each other. How are we going to go, Andy? If we're talking over the top of each other in a show, how are we going to do a duet commentary? Seriously.
We're going to have to go word for word, aren't we? We're going to have to go word for word. Green, light, on.
We'll be in harmony come Monday. We've got plenty of time to practice, I think. James Vandermart's coming over from Melbourne. It's going to be great to have him there. He's the voice of the straight track at Healesville and sometimes the Meadows, of course, as well. There might be a couple of interesting callers towards the end there as well in those last couple of races. Andy, it's something that's been talked about by Paul Freeman for a good period of time. The Palmerston North Greyhound Racing Club have got on board big time. Racing Board have jumped in as well to bring us all together. Really looking forward to it, so it's up to us now to make it good.
Certainly going to be a good day, no doubt about that, so well worth getting along for. We're going to take a quick break here now on DogZone. Roso and I are going to go and try and synchronise ourselves so we don't keep talking over top of each other, and we'll be back in a moment.
And away we go. Buddy Boom does hit the lid nicely there from Ash, and so they're 1-2 followed back then out by Cuba PD. Mrs. Opal out wide the track. There is Pukekohe Smurf off the track. A little we go to Magic 8 Ball back to the tail there. Firecracker off the top. They come and Buddy Boom and Ash and kick away. Gee, I hope the tote was open upstairs for you, but it gets it nicely. Buddy Boom. Then we go back to Ash. Followed back then out by Pukekohe Smurf.
Laying side by side.
Welcome back into DogZone. That was Buddy Boom winning on debut at Auckland, and what an impressive debut it was as well. Roso, you don't win maidens much better than that, and as Pete alluded to in his call, we hope the tote was open upstairs. Obviously, the sad passing of the Laglands over the last week or so, and really good to see a dog like Buddy Boom out of their breed getting the job done, and he looks a pretty handy pup.
It was remarkable, really. You'd think it was perfectly scripted. It certainly worked out to script, that's for sure. Leo and Henny Lagland dying within a couple of days of each other. Tuesday of the last week for Leo and Henny on the Thursday. I didn't know the Laglands personally. Obviously saw many of their dogs race over the last sort of 20 to 30 years. Henny was a tote operator at Manukau going back a quarter of a century. And they got the bug, and they were grassroots greyhound racing, breeding their own, and some really nice dogs. Captain Coots was a very good and fast sprinter who was a dog that was able to be used as a sire, and he's the sire of that very fast dog we just saw there, Buddy Boom and Ashen. They're out of La Cigale, who was an unraced sister to Belcroft Banker. Now, Belcroft Banker has got the maiden record still. This is him here in the Auckland Cup, Andy, of 2017, running third in the Auckland Cup to Hazel Power and Paul Dozer. Now, Belcroft Banker only won one middle distance race, but was good enough here to run third in the Group 1 Auckland Cup. Won any number of sprints, as I say, still holds the maiden record for 318 metres at Manukau, which was nearly taken by Buddy Boom. 18.26 the record, 18.33 is what Buddy Boom ran the other day, and Buddy Boom's looks set to cash in on some maiden bonus opportunities. So Kitty's Thunder, a dog that they had, was able to win across all four distances at Cambridge, including a New Zealand Racing Series final over the 747 metres. So this is really about some people, Andy, who got involved from the outside, got the bug, bred some really nice dogs of their own, and we need those people desperately in greyhound racing because we've lost many over the years. The game has changed, and we need the big professional trainers, clearly, but we need the others as well, those who give the sort of community feel to greyhound racing that we need. So for Leo and Henny to pass within a few days of each other, obviously a very sad time for their family, but for Mike, Dylan, Fred and Nikki, their children, we wish them all the very best and hope that we will see them at the greyhound track. And certainly what we will see, I think, over the next year or two, by the looks of things, is plenty of winners out of this litter, and especially Buddy Boom.
Certainly a really nice debut. You don't get a lot better than what he did, and yeah, he certainly looks like a dog on his way to the top grades. Talking about top grade animals, there's a really nice stayer who is currently across the ditch who's going to make his way over here. Rosa, of course, I talk of Rip and Sam. Here he is winning at Kennington, box number 4. We know what this bloke's capable of, and gee, he's going to inject some zest into the upcoming collar.
Yes, he is. Look, he's coming out here. He's going to link up at the end of the month with the Angela Turnbull team, who have been on such a good spree of Group 1 success. Now, of course, in recent times, we've had Ring the Bell come out here and win back-to-back collars. We had a dog called Sweet It Is, who came out and was first past the post in the collar, unfortunately was subsequently disqualified. To have a dog like Rip and Sam potentially come out and boost our ranks is terrific. Raced by Lauren Harborn, who has some dogs already with the Turnbull kennel. That was his Group 1 success there last April, Western Australia, because what he's had to do, Andy, is try and escape his brother, Tornado Tears. And when they were both trained by Rob Britton, they did provide the Quinella a few times in Group 1s. He's been 5 times Group 1 second, that dog. And he's been able to go around the states and at least place in the Group 1s, and he got that win out in Perth. He hasn't had a great time over the last few months. He's had wrist injury and his racing has been sporadic, but hopefully when he gets here he'll settle in. He's got time to do that before June's Silver Collar, and hopefully Angela Turnbull and Paul Freeman can get him spot on for the collar. I'm really hoping a dog called Ebby Ripper might make it out this year, a sister to Miva Sydney and Mr. Ebby, and there's been talk about her coming out the last year or even two. Rip and Sam's won $350,000, has a better record than Ebby Ripper, but Ebby Ripper's won nearly $300,000 herself and has placed a couple of times in Group 1s over there and looks the right sort of dog for a collar. We need the Australian interest, I think, Andy, in particular to bolster our ranks. But if you look at the race we finally got last week that Corborn Taylor won, the Wanganui Distance, and if you add in dogs like potentially Don't Knock a G and Avenger Bale, and we look at dogs like Hot Platter and No Pudding, and hopefully some more coming up through the ranks, let's hope for some quality, competitive silver collar heats come June. We'll certainly get a good final.
Certainly does look that way, and it's really good to see those ranks getting boosted, and yeah, certainly things looking up for the distance races. Time now to look back at the DogZone dogs to follow. Here's a wash of last week. Philippa, who's not on the show this week, Edge of Town getting the job done. Dinah Vernon, Idle Hot both placing, but both winning at their next start. Roso and I able to get Cameo Sid home, Articulator running a place, Grey Bale Big Time Shine both running in the money as well. The Greyhound Guru himself, Mr. Mark Rosanoski, will head to you and you can tell us where we're looking next week.
Yeah, I don't think I can keep getting the guru tag for keep having these dogs that running in the placings and not winning. But anyhow, To the Nail at Cambridge has got box number 1 with Emma Potts now, and a dog that can go on a horseshoe, as we know from its experience at Ascot. So going with that on Thursday, hammer time. Big Time Shine at Wanganui Friday. Yes, I'm going to stick with the Shine. Ran 3rd on Monday, was a little bit unlucky there. Big Time Cooper. Now we're looking to Monday here, Commentators Day, Andy. Now by then, Big Time Cooper's form's going to be ugly because I suggest another down the track run on Friday over the 520 metres. But coming back to 410 metres, this dog's got a lot of speed. So if those 520s haven't taken the sting out of him, he's one I think that we can look at on Monday to maybe get $1. Because I tell you what, if we don't pick some winners around those commentators like George Simon, Tony Lee and Mark McNamara, there's going to be hell to pay, I suspect.
Yeah, we might be looking a little bit sick if we can't tip them into 1 or 2, especially throughout their guaranteed terminating pick 6 that will be taking place on the last 6 races. Here's how I see the week ahead. Improved draw on offer for Martha Magic. She comes up with box number 1, takes on Dinah Wesleyan, which is always a concern, but I think she can sneak away off the inside and get the job done. Casharoo, the pacemaker, she's got tons of early speed and expect to see her lead. As does Airwill Ebony. She goes around on Friday at Christchurch. Comes up with box number 5. That's okay for her. She's a mid-tracker anyway. I think she can lead all of the way. And Big Time Jasmine, who probably should have won one in the last couple of weeks, I think she draws to get the job done come Friday night. Let's head back to Mark Rosanoski. Our time is almost up here on DogZone. Thank you for your time again, Roso, and I'll see you on Monday.
Yes, indeed, Andy, and let's just try and get our synchronicity right come Monday for that DogZone duet, but thoroughly looking forward to everybody gathering from across the codes into Palmerston North on Monday, which, as I say, we'll have the outcome of that day, if you like, on Wednesday night's DogZone next week.
That's it from us here on DogZone. We'll be back next week with reviews and previews of greyhound racing from around the country and Commentators Day, but until then, happy punting.